right, Mr. Mao. We are back, week number 3. They say the first start of a podcast is 3 weeks in a row. So we're almost there. We're there. I mean, we're not almost there. We're there.
We're there. So look, I didn't die yet. Nobody got in trouble.
We didn't get canceled.
We didn't get canceled yet.
No one let us know we were talking shit on them or anything. So we're good.
Yeah. Bro, I was in Tulsa this week.
I've been waiting all week to get the DL. Give me the good, bad, the ugly. Are you ready to pull your son out of the sport yet?
Yes. Yes. Man, all right. So I told you that it's getting better. And we all know what we're talking about, right? Like the crazy dads, crazy over-the-top coaches. And it is getting better. But what happens is, and this is a big part of the problem, the events are set up to accommodate crazy ass dads, right? Like they're literally they're honed in, like, oh, do you have an elevated sense of worth for your son? Well, guess what? We got pictures that are this high of him. Like, do you have an elevated sense of the importance of this event? Yes. Well, good thing you do, because we've got a statue of an eagle this friggin' big to give your kid and then it becomes like this thing at the airport after the event of like, who's got the big box that they're walking in with, and I'm like, oh my god, these people are crazy.
Dude, did they have the silk screen with the place on the back of the shirt?
They did. But now that is like it's not
cool anymore.
No, it's not.
Was it ever, or was I just a nerd? Because I never placed and I never had one. I wanted one.
Fair enough. And who got third on their shirt? Like who? Big old bronze. Well. 7th.
Bro, you want to hear how much of a nerd I was? I had freshman state 6th place, dog.
Oh, that's a tough look.
Bro, you take what you can get. 94 pounds.
That's a tough go, Jim. That's a tough go.
Bro, I got a medal stand. That was the first step, homie.
That's fair.
So, just to kind of go off of where we were at last week, and you were talking about someone who runs a club and then it being necessary to go to Tulsa. Do you still feel that after experiencing this weekend?
Yeah, no, you have to. But so here's the thing. And I had this conversation with people, and this is coming from a place, I know Shane Roller. He is a very intelligent man. And he does well for himself on this. He basically just runs, I don't know, I'm sure he has other endeavors, but as far as the event management part of the business, as far as I can see, they run 3 tournaments a year. Okay. So here's kind of where we're at right now as a sport. There are 2 types of tournaments. Okay. There is the roller events and the RMN events. And they they have to cater, and I'm not hating, okay, because that's this person's business. That's their means of putting food on their family's table. But they have to cater to the masses and sucking every last nickel and dime out of them. So that means they have to pay $25 for early weigh-ins, and that means that coaches' passes are $60, and that means that all day passes for grandma are $30, and it's just and every so it's they're constantly beating you over the head with a check for $25. You know what I mean? And then the Dippin' Dots and the this and the that, and then there's guy off the scale. They have a photographer at every mat, so this makes me, it does hurt my soul.
I'm so uncomfortable right now.
I know. It's creepy, right? Because the kids have to weigh in singlets now. So They weigh in, they put their straps up, they do a little pose. So now when the kid wins, they already have pictures of the kid, put it on the trophy. It's a puppy farm. It is made to make money. It's over 3 days. 3 days.
What are the age limit or age groups here?
So it's like every 2 years. It's like 8 and under, 6 and under, 10 and under.
6 and under?
Yeah, sure. I guess I might be making that up, but I doubt it.
Okay.
But the other thing is like it's made to make money. If they weren't so concerned with making money, they would open up double the amount of mat space and we get out of there in 2 days. But now they got to pay for another venue. Go ahead.
So it's Shane Roller's business, right? It's how he puts food on his table, as you put it. Is there a more ethical way to do this stuff and make money?
No,
No,
not really. And like that's just me being like, if you want to do well, like have you ever noticed that like every fight promoter is a scumbag? Like,
yeah, I have.
So it's like,
or a pro wrestling guy too. Yeah.
so it's like the answer to that question is really no, not if you want to be successful. Now I'll take the other end of that spectrum. I don't know if you've heard of this Premier National League that Askren. So basically Askren, DC, the guys at Pinnacle, the guys, David Taylor with M2, like all the best clubs in the country kind of like got together and were like, hey, we need to find a way to create a league where we all see each other and wrestle each other consistently, just like hone in on the best competition, right? So it's got Young Guns, it's got David's Place out in PA, it's got Izzy Style from Illinois, it's got Pinnacle from Minnesota, Askren from Wisconsin, DC is up in Northern California. They're inviting us, in the process of inviting us to be in. Now we went to one of their events, right? We were invited to one of their events in Phoenix. Actually, I think I might be wearing the shirt. Anyway, no parents on the mat, no crazy screaming. There was a training session the night before where all the kids got to learn from Ben. They got to learn from Jared Lawrence. They got to learn from some of the best in the country. Okay. So all the kids are training together the night before they wrestle. And then we were in and out of there. Great competition. 4 matches. My son got 4 matches. I can't imagine he's probably, that was pretty common, right? So you got 4, 5, 6 matches. We're in and out of there in 4.5 hours, 5 hours. And it was like, but guess what? They don't make any money.
Yeah.
So I mean, now don't get me wrong. The P&L thing, they have their own business model, but it doesn't really have too much to do with events. You see what I'm saying? So like, is there a middle ground? I don't know, maybe, but it's tough. It's really tough. And you will. And if you do find a middle ground, I guarantee within 6, 7, 10, 20 events, you're going to start looking at ways to be more like Shane Roller, because it's enticing. It's easy. $25 early weigh-ins. Do you like every kid like there was thousands.
Could you imagine back in high school or college, if you could buy a fast pass to weigh in like during the day?
That's exactly what you're doing.
Lorraine, give me the checkbook. We're weighing in at 8 a.m.
Bro, who's not weighing in?
It's a heavyweight.
Bro, I'm telling you.
That's ridiculous.
And that's the other thing, right? Like we didn't get out of there. So we were fortunate, man. I just got lucky with an Airbnb. This Airbnb was really nice. It was really big house, 3 bedrooms, a mile away from the venue, literally, in a decent neighborhood, because North Tulsa gets a little dicey sometimes, a little sketchful every once in a while. So it was in a nice neighborhood that I felt comfortable in. Yeah. So, but we didn't get out of there until 11 o'clock in most instances. And so now I got to feed my kid. And so what does that look like? You know what that looks like? It looks like fucking fast food. Not on my watch, sir. So I would go shopping, or I have one of the moms go shopping, and I made, carbonara for the kids. I made, vodka penne for the kids. We had the whole team over, and I'm cooking at midnight. Well, fuck, man, it's midnight. You know, the last time I saw midnight, Jim, it was a while ago. It was a long time ago. I don't see midnight all that often, you know. So that's, you know, the experience for the kids is great.
Well,
But
is it though? Like, because it's all like, it's like taking your kid to Disney World almost, as you tell me about it. It's like you have all this bullshit, for a lack of a better word, all the bells and whistles and all the shit to buy. But like, is that a good experience for the kid? Because yes, they get the experience of being in a big tournament, but is that the way we should be building them up? Is there different ways or better ways to go about this?
No, it's the best competition in the country. I know. I wish I could.
You're
I wish I
killing
could
me.
tell you that is like. Here's the problem. If it were all sizzle and no steak, I would not go. But you have to measure yourself against the best in the country, and that's probably the best way to do it. It sucks. It hurts my heart to do it, because you know you do feel like you're feeding into this icky, you know.
You know what's a good example I have of this?
Mm.
Ken Shertow camp. I don't think you can really call yourself a wrestler until you have worked one of those camps or been to one of those, dude. I'm serious.
Yeah,
like we have our opinion, but you know what? I still got my laundry bag that says Ken Shertow on it. And I'm connected to so many kids that I met that were studs just from working a Ken Shertow camp. And there's just like, take him out of the picture. There's something to that. So yes, I see what you're talking about.
Yes, there is a level of like, okay, this is kind of a rite of passage, right? It's kind of like a rite of passage. And you know, I think for the senior level guys, it's the Airey, right? Like it's a miserable week of travel, and they know, like the Russians know that we hate going to it. And it's in Siberia. It's in January. Well, this is Tulsa is our Airey, man. You know, and you got to do it. And you know, we had some good results. Jack went 4-2, which is huge progress from the year before. He went 0-2.
That is huge. Congratulations,
Yeah,
Jack.
and
Brown.
like, you know, we had kids place. It was good. It was good. I think, you know, if you kind of strip it down to bare bones, I think it is a good experience for the kids, especially like, you know, that they got to hang out in an Airbnb all day. You know, the finals didn't start for our guy. The medal matches didn't start on Sunday till like 3:30 p.m. So me, Jack, his buddy, we all went in sauna. You know, sauna, cold plunge, little recovery action. It was like, you know, he gets to play. He brings a switch. He plays a switch with his buddies. It's more to it than just wrestling, right? It's way more to it.
So what's Jack's takeaway from it? Obviously, a big improvement on last year. What was his takeaway from it? Is he ready to? Well, he's a 8th grade, so he won't go back next year, right?
No.
All right.
No, I think what is his takeaway? He's not happy with himself at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, he's way harder on himself than I am on him. Way harder.
What
he came up to me 3 times after his last loss, like 3 separate times, and asked how he can get better, like how he can stop losing. And like, I don't want to. I don't. It's really tough as a coach dad. It's really, really tough, because like I want to be brutally honest with him, and but I also, that's my son, and I do like hate seeing him unhappy. So it's like, man, how can you get better? Well, number one, you got to move your feet, and the kid gets taken down in the first 45 seconds of every first period ever. And so like,
That's all right.
no, it's not all right. Okay, it's all right when you were in college in a 7-minute match and you got a gas tank. He is basically you, but with an outside step. Okay. He gives up that first takedown. Jimmy, it's a 3-minute match on the back end of these brackets.
Yeah,
What am I supposed to do? Like,
he gets 6 minutes next year, though, doesn't he?
he does.
So, like,
So, yes, but tell him that. He don't want to hear that shit. That doesn't get him a fucking eagle.
no, but you know what? You and I know enough that is like cool. You didn't place here, great. Because next year, wherever we go to these big tournaments, you're gonna get on. You know what I mean? And it's hard to.
Jimmy, that's the dad part of me. The coach part of me is going, you got to move your feet, bud. You got to move your feet. Because,
Does he try, or does he have like, shout out to Paul Sareva? Is he just like doesn't have? Yeah.
I think he tries, but he could try more. And like he doesn't pull the trigger in the first 45 either. So it's not like, he's not moving his feet and he's not getting taken down. He just stands there for whatever reason.
This is a quick suggestion, maybe something we'll talk about offline. When I think back on my career and think about like when we always used to go in matches, like it was always like, you got to score in the first 30 seconds. I think for someone like Jack, who is having a problem getting taken down, he gets taken down real early, you should really emphasize hand fight that first period.
Yeah.
And like if you can get a shot, get it, but you're more like, we got to tire him out. Like your game plan is to tire dude out, and you're probably stronger than him in the third period. But in the first period, if you get underneath him, you might give up points. And obviously I've never seen Jack wrestle, but that's just based off of what you're telling me.
So the problem is the hand fight. Like he reaches so much for that hand. Like he just wants to get his hands on somebody, and then he reaches and the guy drops it on the leg. Whereas in the second, third period, that guy is like on skates too. So I don't know. It's long story short. The only thing that's going to fix it is a 6-minute match. Like that's it. So I like, and I don't care. And the kid's got lungs. The kid has a motor on him. And so I'm not worried at all. Like, but again, tell that shit to your son. That's tough, right? Because he wants to be the guy on the podium. So.
How'd the rest of the team do? What was the rest of the experience like?
I think it was really good. We had one kid place 5th. We only took 5 kids.
Okay.
We had 2 that, man, they're just not there yet, and then 2 were basically in the blood round. I don't know, like the blood rounds are weird because they only place top 6, they don't place top 8. So it's like I don't know which. It's the blood rounds to me is Consi round of 8, number 2, because I'm thinking the NCAA tournament, but I don't know, whatever the blood round. I think one of them was technically in the blood round, and then Jack lost the round before. So I mean, we had 3 kids in the mix. 2 kids went home going, we need to get a lot better. So that's good. But 2 of our best, 3 or 4 of our best kids didn't go. So it's like, I don't know. I think we can chalk it up to a B- performance, but I think the experience of having them out there is really, really important. And I think the kid that did place, I think it'll kind of propel him to some success at a Fargo level, like a cadet level this coming spring, because he'll be a cadet, first year cadet. So I think, I think there's a lot of positivity that came from it. And again, like, my son and the other guy that did pretty well at this tournament, you put them in Fargo, I think they do better in Fargo, right? Not only is it freestyle, which helps both of their style of wrestling, but it's it's longer matches. Step out helps, right? They're aggressive wrestlers, so step out's going to help them quite a bit. So yeah, I think all in all, I think it was a good experience to build off of going into Fargo.
Okay, well, that's a good takeaway for sure. You said that this event kind of concentrates the crazy dads and funnels them into one arena. What would you say the percentage is of crazy dads to normal dads? I want to hear, did you see any cringeworthy incidents?
Yeah. Tons. Okay, so percentage. I have a good friend of mine that coaches in Cedar Falls. He is at Immortal Wrestling Club, which is basically run out of the UNI wrestling room. His name is Cruz. And he turned to me about halfway through day 2 and goes, the amount of people here that are living vicariously through these kids is alarming. And I said, okay. I said, okay, people in this building that aren't competing, how many of them, percentage-wise, are living vicariously through the kids in front of them? And he said 80%. And I said, oh no, we're doomed. We're doomed. And I don't know, that seemed like a high percentage to me. And like, he's a thoughtful person. Like he's a thoughtful human being. So I think he allowed that question to rattle around in his brain for a little while, and he answered it as honestly as he possibly could. But it still feels high, but if it's not, it's alarming. It's alarming, dude. You know, and that goes for like coaches too, right? Like coaches of like kids that aren't related to them, but the dads, so many of them. I feel bad. Like I feel awful because it's still, you know, I said it's getting better, and it is, because back in 2000, when did you and I meet? 2007?
Yeah.
Okay. 2007, I was probably one of 10 full-time wrestling coaches that were not affiliated with a major institution, right? Like I wasn't at a Division I school. I was one of, would you agree with that? 10 to 12 across the country?
Yeah.
Like how many guys were doing what I did full time? Like even Steve Rivera, like, you know, he had another job, and you know, all these.
Not many, dude, and not many outside of New Jersey either. That's another
No.
thing like people don't even realize.
No. So like in 2007, it was like me, Ian Assel, Gino, Mike Kraus.
I mean, you count Jody, UPJ.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know
Guns.
if Young Guns was a,
Yeah,
like,
it was.
It was a thing. All right, so then there's probably 10 all across the country. There's probably 200 to 300 now. That's good. Okay, that's really good. But
what's the entry level? Like, well, what's the price of admission? You know, there isn't one. So is it good?
Yeah. Well, so that's fair. But like but with making it a profession comes professionalism, right? Like if you're a schmuck and you beat the shit out of your kids, and I mean that in a metaphorical way, like you finger, you shake your finger at them, and you browbeat them, and I don't know. I don't think that flies everywhere in the country anymore. Maybe still in Iowa and places like that, but I don't think that really flies many places in the country anymore at youth sports. So it's like you have to kind of have this level of decorum if you want to continue getting paid by these people, right? Because at the end of the day, the parents, they have to like you. So I think that there's probably 200 to 250, maybe even 300 across the country now that are full-time coaches, right? Like even like Nazar Kolchitsky, right? Who was a D2 guy. You know, he spent some time on the senior circuit, had some really impressive wins on the senior circuit, and now is doing youth coaching. He's killing it, dude. Like his athletes are well trained, they're good kids. He knows obviously he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to kind of convey it to kids. And he's not a shithead, right? Like he's not a shithead. So you see him in the corner, and you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a level of professionalism from both the corner and from the athlete. That all being said, it's still probably 15 to 20% of all the coaches that were there, right? So like, we're still, now don't get me wrong, there's the level that the level of professionalism that those 15 to 20% bring rubs off on the crazy dads for the most part, right? Because like they're, they lose their shit over whatever. They look at me in the corner. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what's going on here? So it does rub off on some of them, but not all. I saw some pretty cringeworthy stuff this weekend.
Does it just take us with a camera, just filming the parents and blasting them out? Like, is that the only way you eradicate that stuff? Or
You can
like,
do it, yeah. It's easier now because it's everything's on documented, and yeah, you can if you wanted to do that and shame the people that are doing this. It wouldn't be the worst thing. It wouldn't,
and
because that's how I stopped being a psychopath. For real, my dad came to like one of my matches when this is back when I was with Edison, right? Like with Scotty Winston and those kind. And my dad came to an event and he was like, "You're a crazy person." He's like, "You're a crazy person." And then he made my wife kind of, and this is again like 2003,
4 or 5.
4, yeah. So like, film me, and like I'm jumping on chairs, and I was a psychopath. And that's the other thing, right? Like we have to give some of these dads a pass. You do. Here's what. Look.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
You're talking about childhood trauma. I have to disagree with you here.
Okay.
Well, you didn't explain yourself though. Explain yourself. Why do we give them a pass?
All right. Here's why we give him a pass. I screwed Scotty Winston up. I screwed him up.
You
I
and
went too
20
hard.
other people.
Fine. I was a big part of it. Fine. I screwed him up though. Right? The kid could barely walk by the time he was done college. But
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with you, dude. There was, man.
I knew real well that we were putting miles on that kid. But it was the goal was undefeated 4-timer in high school. I didn't look past that. And so like, I saw my eyes lit up and like I saw my show pony. And like it wasn't as well thought out as that. Like I just knew that I needed to get him in as good as I could, as quick as he could. And when I see the kid's face now, my heart drops. And when the fact that he never All-American, it keeps me up.
Crushes me, dude. It crushes me.
It freaking keeps me up at night.
Yeah, dude.
It keeps me up at night.
And like I saw it, and like you're connected to him. Gucci was a part of his career when he was a rec wrestler. So like, and Scotty Winston was always like epic to me. Like for someone who was like the Damian Hahn of his time, he was always like epic. So yes, and I am like someone who thinks that he still doesn't get enough dabs because of his college career, but whatever.
No doubt.
So,
but hold on now.
Okay,
he was my first. What if all I was doing was coaching my kids, and like he was my kid, and I screwed him up? And like I don't get a second one. Maybe you do. Maybe you have a second kid. But like I was talking to one of the dads that I was traveling with this week, and he's talking about his brother. His brother has 2 boys. One of them went to UVA. One of them now is at Oregon State or something like that. But he took 2 very different approaches. The first one, he, was super tough on them. They went to everything, a lot of weight cutting, and like did everything wrong. That things that he thought were probably right at the time, but you and I know are wrong now. The kid goes to UVA, washes out, and then I think he winds up at SF State hanging out and surfing with Jason Welsh, which is cool. I'm not mad at it, but like not what he thought of as success at the time. And now his other son loves the sport, is training really hard at Oregon State. Noah Tolentino is a legit D1 wrestler and climbing right now. So it's like, if you have 2 sons, you can make that mistake once and fix it. But if you just got one shot at this thing, man, you kind of got to give these guys a pass, because they are doing what they probably think is right. but they don't have the experience to call upon to know that they're not doing it right. They're definitely not doing it right.
All right, I will agree with you on the context you just laid out of that situation. When you talk about like getting a pass, I'm thinking about like a father picking up a kid by a headgear and like shaking him, or someone like you don't get a pass for that shit.
No.
You like you were a young guy who didn't have a coach. Like that's another thing like that we don't even talk about. But coaches need coaches, right?
No doubt.
And
No doubt
and
about
that
it.
was like you were figuring it out as you were going, and like not to get too inside baseball, you were going from like seeing working a full-time sales job to holy shit, I could have a possibility to be a full-time wrestling coach. So you know what I mean? There is that too. And I don't think there was any like maliciousness behind it. You know what I mean? Everything was like all well and good. And you saw like what you needed to do for you and him. I don't think it was like at any point you were like ever negative to him or ever like, made him cry. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I thought when you said like get a pass.
No, but let me ask you this. Even put yourself in the shoes of the dad that picks the kid up by the headgear. Why do you think he does that?
There's a lot of stuff I can't say on here, but there's some like bottom line, he's got some shit he's not dealing with.
I agree with that. But do you think that in his head he's trying to ultimately help?
I think he doesn't know how to handle his emotions.
That's fair. But I'm asking you, do you think that he's doing what he's doing to help his kid?
No. I don't think that is I don't think that's a thought. I just think it's someone who one is embarrassed, right? They're taking, like you said, living vicariously through their kids, so they're embarrassed, right? And they don't know how to express, like, I don't, dude. It's hard to like have this conversation and
I
not
know.
like, But I think it
But
goes.
like that's the thing, right, Jim? They don't all get a pass because you have to be accountable for your behavior. You have to be accountable for your behavior. But I think most of the stuff comes from a place.
I think it's like a love place.
No,
No.
I think it's an improvement place. A place where they want their son or athlete to improve. So, man, I heard this one dad, and it was he just kept on going, just like he and another thing, if you don't move your feet, I don't know why I come here, and you can't keep and then he'd walk away, right? And he's heated, dude. He's friggin' heated. And then he'd come back and be like, and by the way, I see you talking to these kids before and after matches. They ain't your friend. You don't have any friends here. I'm like, oh my God.
Yo, did
And
you
then,
have a DeLorean and stop in on Big Rich and I at the Southern tournament my junior year?
oh, Jesus Christ.
That's rough, man.
Lovely. Wonderful. But do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I think in a way though, like he's going about it terribly wrong. But in a way, I think like, well, he wants the kid to get better. Which is what I want for my athletes. I want my kids to get better. Now, the means are not going to wind up justifying the end, but I think it's coming from a place where, from a similar place, when I talk to the kids and be like, listen, man, I call it a negativity sandwich. This is what you did well.
Yeah.
This is what you suck at, and one more positive thing. I don't know, man. And again, maybe I'm just saying it to be argumentative, but I think some of these guys do kind of get a pass.
Dude, it's a gray area, Mike. It really
Oh,
is.
no.
Cause like you take your situation, right? And then you take crazy dad holding the kid by his headgear, and somewhere in the middle there is your, you know, that said though, I think there's something to your approach of how you're going about it with Jack. Even my parents' approach with Rich and I, because there's two totally different approaches. But I think one thing my parents did, even though they were super like too much, they got us to a point where we were the ones that were driving the ship because we were just so into it. So I think there can be a way where you can kind of manipulate your kid into like, but I don't know how you do it, right? I don't know how you trick them. The only thing is like that father that you were talking about who kept on coming back at the kid, and then my comparison with you and Jack is that kid. Every time he steps foot on the mat, there's so much stress and pressure
Fear.
on him,
Yeah. Mhm.
and this like making this match bigger than it is. And then
Yeah.
like Jack does it to himself to a certain extent because he loves to win, he loves the sport, and he puts a
Mhm.
lot of time in. So I get that, but it's him. Whereas like you're not putting any pressure on him, and you're like win or loss, you're giving him the same reaction.
Mhm. Yeah. I think it was interesting to see because you go to these events and these knucklehead people, they think they know me. you know,
What's that like? Not to change the subject, but what's that like, dude?
they talk. They walk up to me and talk to me like they've known me for years. I'm like, who are you? Hey, Mike. They're like, I know. I'm like, cool, cool, cool. All right. But I think it was what was interesting is like, and then and they, a lot of them, they know me from Flow, but they also follow me on Instagram, so they see Jack, and so they know he's my son, that kind of stuff. Well, I think what's interesting is watching their reaction to me after he loses. Like I saw two dads like kind of like that when I was talking to Jack, and I just like all I'm doing is like I like I took the dad or excuse me I took the coach hat off like because the kid's an emotional wreck right now. Like he doesn't need a coach, he needs a dad. So like I just held him and hugged him and said I love you, and that was it. That was literally it. I just kept on saying I love you. It's no big deal. I love you. Who cares? Right? And these dads were like, and they probably were whispering to themselves and whatever. But it's like it's interesting to see their reaction to it, and hopefully that like permeates some of their thought process because like I do that. I did that with this kid Issa this weekend too. I didn't say I love him because I'm probably not close. I'm like like I just held him and like, oh yeah, you don't need a friggin' this. Oh, you don't need high crotches right now, dude. Like that's not it, right? But like Issa is his poor kid. I shouldn't say poor kid. It's not really his fault. I think you said you matured late, so like he's 80 pounds. He's seventh grader. He's a holdback seventh grader. He can't gain weight.
Yeah.
He's waiting on Mother Nature, and like explain that to a boy. Like you're getting hossed by kids that are pulling 12 pounds. And that was the other thing. All my guys, every single one was so proud of them. We're the smallest guys in the league class every time, every
Oh,
freaking time. Like the kid that won the bracket that we had a kid take fifth in. The kid he lost to that kid in the quarters. He was 4 inches taller and 3 inches wider than my kid. Like it's not like it's and like like the cheeks and the eyes and like I was so proud of my kids. Like I go, hey, how's your weight? He's like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm fine.
yeah, I
If you
guess
don't
it's good.
know, if you
Yeah.
don't know, that's great, dude. That's great. Like I was pound under yesterday. I don't know, probably same. So it's like, but tell that kid in the moment that like, oh, these kids are like they're sucking so much weight, they're going to hit the ceiling soon. like sooner than you think. And you're here trying to compete with kids that are dropping and kids.
We're Russians.
Yeah, dude. That's like, it's hard to explain, but so you don't even bother. You just go, it's fine, it's okay. Like you did your job, So I don't know, man. It was kind of cool to see people react to me, and hopefully it sinks into some of them.
Right on. Yeah, I never even thought of that as you kind of being a celeb at wrestling events. So that must be an interesting experience. So is there anything on Tulsa that we missed that you want to bring up? There's two other things I want to talk to. We got 15 minutes.
No, I think we have said everything we need to say about good old Tulsa. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I gotta get my light.
You're good. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So you had sent me that article last week about UWW trying to get something going where there's going to be kind of like they kind of do it in track where they have like all the European track meets and you earn points and you get paid so much. So let's go into that. Let's dive into that.
It's a waste of time.
Talking about it or doing it?
No, no. It's not talking about it. No, I think it's, you said that's good.
I'm not a reader either. I just read the headline, dude. Come on, bro. Send me a YouTube video or a podcast. I am not a reader.
All right. It wasn't enough. It's not enough. It's a step in the right direction.
Something.
I know. But it's
how many matches or how many tournaments you got to do? How much money you get?
Let me see the exact
300,000 or I'm dyslexic
Say again?
numbers too. Is it 300,000 or is it did I
Oh no. No. It's 300,000 over 3 disciplines, right? Women's Greco and freestyle.
Oh.
Over 4. Oh no. Yeah, let's see. Let me see. Let me pull up the numbers. But UWW to award prize money and ranking series winners. Blah 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 blah. Okay, the gold medal winners at the 4 ranking series tournaments in 2023 will receive $1,500, 1,500 Swiss francs. Right. The silver medalists getting 750. The 2 bronze medalists will get 500.
I retract my statement.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Now, this is where I'm at with this. And I'm going to talk about the U.S. only right now, because it might be slightly different for people in Russia and Iran and stuff. It's definitely different, but it's whatever. So we're just talking about the model that we have right now in the U.S. and it's basically the RTCs, right? So the RTCs will pay the athlete X amount of dollars a month, depending upon where you are and how good you are. There will be incentives, but they're only incentives on the biggest tournaments of the year. Okay, so it's like if you go to the US Open and place whatever, you get $5,000. If you go to the World Team Trials and you make the team, you get $5,000. This is on top of your
pay. Is that a real number?
Yeah.
That's
well. Hold on.
Dudes fighting in Atlantic City make that much money.
No. I'm sorry. I should step back. You're right, but let's say they get paid $1,000 a week just to train, right? So every week they're bringing home a paycheck from the RTC, right? So it's like it's their full-time job, and then the bonuses are. From this is just from the RTC. Now USA Wrestling has some type of bonus structure that they have as well. So it's probably closer to 10, but let's just, for round numbers sake, let's say it's $5,000.
Well, even we're so basic as wrestlers. We're like, yeah, I mean, I'll take $1,000 a week, but still, like compared to other professional sports, it's like, are you kidding me?
I'm with you. But I think the problem that I have with it, because we can argue the numbers, like the numbers are almost like, not that they're inconsequential, but it's the structure that I have a problem with. Okay, these guys are paid only to train. David Taylor, when was the last time you saw him compete? Not in the World Team Trials, not at the Olympics, not at the World Championships. He didn't do it. Okay. Now JB is a different thing. JB is, he takes the sport on his back. He feels as though he needs to propel the sport forward, and so he goes out there and he wrestles at, at opens and in these ranking series events and stuff like that. But that's, JB is like the exception. Kyle Dake and David Taylor, they don't wrestle in the World Cup. You know why?
They don't get paid.
USA Wrestling isn't going to pay them.
I mean, that's smart. Like the fact that they're not getting paid to wrestle in the World Cup is ridiculous.
You can argue one way or the other, but here's the thing. No, JB shows up.
JB's making money though, dude.
I know.
JB's making.
Nobody's crying for JB.
He's in another category
for sure. You know what? You're right. That's fair. So, but I just like arguing. But
you're good at it.
I know. So here's the thing, though. Why? Well, there's no incentive for these guys to wrestle anywhere else other than the World Championships. So why would they? Now, is that a step in the right direction? I suppose so.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if I missed the context of this, but are they doing this to make those dudes wrestle? Is that the purpose?
Yeah, well, they have to incentivize them somehow, because they thought when they started this ranking series, I think they thought like, oh, I'm going to go to these ranking. They're going to get the best athletes at these ranking series events, because the goal was they would get points for seeding at the World Championships. JB doesn't care about, like, Sadalayev. He doesn't give a shit. He's gonna run through, like, you can see me 12th. I don't care. I'm gonna run through it anyway. Yeah. Right? Like, like, here's the thing. Let's talk about heavyweight. Heavyweight, there's 3 of them. There's 3 of them that can win right now with Gable out. So it's like Taha Ghul, the guy from Georgia, Geno Petrashvili, and then the Iranian Zari. So it's like, are you not going to separate them, UWW, you idiots? Like, are you not, like, you're not going to separate them? All right, don't separate them. What do I care? They meet in the quarterfinals and you don't get to promote the event as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's so the athletes wound up realizing pretty quickly, like, unless you're like a middle of the road guy, going to those ranking series events is like, meh, whatever. It's not. So they're trying to incentivize them with money now as well. And they're trying to put together a series throughout the year that people can, like, look to tune into. That makes sense. They're doing the right thing. The problem is it's not nearly enough to get anybody from Russia to do this. Any of the best guys, not their A guys, right? Like, so, and the same thing with our guys. And I would assume the same thing with the Iranian guys. So it's like, it's kind of still missing. Now, is it enough to get Frank Chamizo to go? Usually they have one in Italy. They have a ranking series event in Rome. He wrestles for Italy. The federation president, Finizio, usually calls him like, look, dude, you need to come to our event. Like, and I'm sure he's begrudgingly says okay, because he is the Italian team for the most part, right? Like, I mean, he is Italy wrestling. So is it enough to get him out? Yeah. But is it enough to have Dake, Taylor, JB, Kyle Snyder? I don't think so. But they're going in the right direction, so it's good. Probably still wasting money.
So the one takeaway I have on this is when you're talking about UWW and kind of going through all this, it seems like a broken system. And the first thought that kind of comes to my head is, man, when they kicked us out of the Olympics, we kind of blew it. We had a shot. We had a shot to make this thing our own, and we got scared, and we thought we needed the Olympics, dude, and we blew it.
100%. 100%. Looking back on it, the wave of like support in 2013, February 2013. I'll never forget it. If we just directed it in a more creative way, we'd be in a way better spot right now.
Because it was just a sell. They were just trying, you know what I mean? They were trying to get what they needed, and we got, because when that shit happened, I didn't buy it. I was like, that's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. And it didn't happen. You know what I mean? They just got us by the balls.
Yeah, you're right. It was a work. It was like, you know, hey, get your shit together type of thing.
Yeah.
And we did, right? Like, I mean, feel it was, I mean, I don't think it's a mystery how corrupt it was. It was just ridiculous. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, man. I agree with you 100%. We dropped the ball. I look back on it, and like, it's hard not to get caught up in it. It's like go wrestling. Wait. Don't go yet. Don't hold on. You know, and like that, you don't want to be that guy. It's like, oh, wait, do we need the Olympics? You know, but I also know how much money the IOC gives to United World Wrestling, and it's a big number. It's a real big number. So it's like, you know, that hole has to be filled from something, and it's not ranking series events, you know. So
it's just a perfect example of how someone like oh man, his name is eluding me right now. Steve Carell played him.
DuPont.
Yeah, that's how someone like DuPont gets in the sport, right? Because we are so broke as a sport.
Not only is that how John DuPont gets himself into the sport, continues to stay in the sport, despite acting like a complete psychopath, even before he became a murderer.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, he was a lunatic before he killed Dave. But yeah, yes, that's because we constantly, and I'll take it a step further. We haven't learned.
No.
We haven't learned, because we just replaced one crazy billionaire with the next one, and then when he stops being philanthropic, then we go on to the next one, who, you know, like Dave Barry and Novogratz, and it's just like we're just constantly got our friggin' hands out. And you're right. In 2013, we had the opportunity to go, hey, wait, why don't we take this and start a series like this ranking series that actually makes money? Well, how do you do that? Oh, okay, well, now we're talking, you know. So that's a story for another time. It's 5:28, not gonna get moving to practice, but maybe that's what we talk about next week, is like, how do we take a model that has already existed, like the UFC, like boxing, and how do we make money? Because right now, even the Olympics, too hard to follow. Way too hard to follow.
Do you think it's like an IFL type format, or do you think it's something like a UFC type format where you're having super matches?
I think it has to be. Not that it has to be, but I think that the smartest, easiest way and most efficient way is to have the UFC style. Because if you start going IFL and you talk about teams, you got to pay for the whole team to come. If you're selling Iran versus US, you got to pay for both teams to come. You know, and if you're trying now that you can sell DT versus Yazdani, well, now you're just paying for two guys instead of 20. That's a big difference. Like, I know it doesn't, like, in a world where like people think of the UFC now, right? And they think of it as like,
you gotta have a reality show, dude.
Yeah,
fighter type.
Yeah. So that was yeah, that was the big propulsion system, getting to know them. So and you know what? We can talk about that next week. In fact, that's not a bad idea. We should just talk about professionalizing.
My mind's going, dude, because like
Yeah,
you're gonna have to tell stories. You're gonna have to get people to know who these people are, because the problem is we don't know who they are.
that's you and I know who they are for the most part.
Yeah,
But my aunt, I always talk about my aunt, and the reason I talk about my
we
aunt
need
is
the
'cause she
casual
knows-
fans, dude.
Huh?
We need the casual fan.
Right. She knows nothing about wrestling, nor does she care to. But if I know that so my aunt and my uncle, they live in, Lyndhurst, and they lived right next to Donnie
Oh,
Pritzlaff.
dude, when you said Lyndhurst, I was gonna say shout out to Donnie Pritzlaff.
No, he used to come by for dessert on like Easter. Like, so
Dude, that's awesome. What a
yeah,
gem of a human, by the way.
he's the best. He's one of my favorite human beings on earth. And I love that he doesn't do social media. I friggin' love it. I don't know why I love it. I just love it. Like it's like pictures of Bigfoot when you see him on social. Like, ooh, there's Donnie. Ooh, But anyway, if my aunt and my uncle don't know anything about it, it means nothing. But if somehow it kind of penetrates their world, and like they'll text me or whatever, like, oh, this was cool that happened in wrestling. I'm like, ah, that's great. So yeah, I think in order for us to capture casual fans, we have to tell stories. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think that's a good exit, Mr. Mal. Until next
All right,
week,
buddy.
sir. Where can the good people find you?
Instagram is easy money. You can DM me whenever you want. I'm not saying I'll get back to you, but I'm saying you can. And then I got some new stuff coming out on Wrestling Fanatics, which should be a lot of fun. I spent, listen to this, an hour and 45 minutes on mat returns. They said I couldn't. They're like, there's no way. I'm like, watch me. Watch me. I will show you every mat return that's ever existed. So yeah, I have a new tutorial coming out on Wrestling Fanatics soon. Mastery of mat returns is, I think, what we're calling it.
Sweet. See you next week, sir.
All right, brother, man. I'll talk to you.
All right, later.
Later.